Alright guys, so since I haven't really had much to work on, I figured I would go ahead and give you a tour of my 96 Dodge Ram, half-ton, four-wheel drive. So, pretty much, this is why they called me the Dodge Man. I had this truck for a while, but ever since I've seen these type of trucks, I've been kind of, how do you say, obsessed with them, to where it's probably the best looking truck I've ever seen. I mean, the Chevys look good, some of the Fords look good, but there's something about a second gen Dodge that just gets your eye. So I'll show you my truck. Now, believe it or not, this truck actually has way more than this mileage. If it'll focus. Yeah, so this here is actually got over 200,000 miles. And for the way it starts up and the way it sounds, you wouldn't think it'd have that much. So the other thing I'll go over is the dash, which this truck's dash, I got lucky and I found it at a salvage. Long story short, some guy had his truck pretty much stashed away in some building where it never got any sun. And when I seen the dash, I had to snatch it up. Now, believe it or not, these dashes, they usually go for about 600 to 800, sometimes even $1,000 online. And sometimes they even go for that on the Facebook market. Now, if you pull it yourself, no, it won't cost that much. But they're so rare that people actually will spend the money to get them to rebuild their truck. So I got lucky and got this one and pretty much just installed it. Let's start her up. And by the way, since my truck is green, I did give it a name. His name is Greenie. Old radio. Been a minute since it's cranked over and started. A lot of the times my truck usually sits because of the gas, so I drive my car mainly to save gas all the time, every time. My truck, it's got a V8 5.9 liter V8 Magnum or 360, same thing, but mostly in these trucks they gave them, in the half tons they gave it the 5.2 liter V8 Magnum and the 5.9 liter V8 Magnum, and then they also gave it the V10. I can't remember the exact liter of the V10, but from what we hear, the V10 was never really that popular, and a lot of the times they kind of just broke down and they had some issues with the designs in them. So, yeah, my paint job's pretty faded, but it's an old truck. It's a 96 model. One of these days I'll get it painted. I don't know when, but at some point I'm gonna get it painted. Yeah, those old grills do that too. There's my motor. The old V8 Magnum. Believe it or not, these trucks are pretty reliable for, well, their motors are bulletproof. Their transmissions, however, are a different story, especially the automatics. Now, if you get a 5-speed manual, you can't go wrong. But I will say the automatics do have a bit of a problem. Yeah, I gotta clean my air filter too. It's been sitting for a while. I think I've drove it probably maybe once this year, and that's been it. And then the other thing I'll point out, so you see there's a battery over there. But there's also another battery terminal here. Now, believe it or not, these trucks, they can be converted into the 12-valve diesels. But there are a couple things that you have to do. For one, you have to change your shocks, your suspension, your coils. And people would argue and say that you could use this front axle, but you gotta think, this motor that's in it now is like 550 pounds, somewhere in there. But then when you get to the Cummins, the 24 valve and the 12 valve, which we're talking about the 12 valve, the 12 valve is still the exact same weight as the 24 valve, being 1,200 pounds even. So you're more than doubling in the weight. So when you double the weight, you have to compensate for all that weight. So the good thing about the 12 valve is you can actually just drop it in. The motor mounts and stuff are actually the same for these motors in the 12 valve. One of these days I might do it, but I don't know. I've spent a lot of money rebuilding my truck, and all of it's under warranty. So it's kind of hard to do that whenever you got something already built that you don't have to pay for. There, I got the muffler. Just a standard dump tip with a flow master. It used to have a pipe that ran all the way across under my spare. And what happened was, it got to the point to where it was starting to heat it up, so I had to cut it and just do it this way. That way it would be out of the way. Overall, I gotta say, as old as this truck is, you wouldn't think it'd have the miles it has, but it doesn't miss a beat at all. But with that being said, I've also replaced the head gaskets. I gave it a new oil pump, new timing chain, stuff like that. So it's been a pretty good truck, and I don't really hot rod it all that much, but it does get up and go whenever you throttle it. Let's see. So probably this summer is when I'm gonna do my big video, and this video is gonna consist of taking this truck apart, mainly the transmission, pulling it out, showing you step by step what you need to do and what tools you'll need to do the job. Now, the good thing about my truck is that it has the 3-inch lift. My coil springs are 3-inch, and right here where my leaf springs are that raise it up, the block is 3-inch. So that's how this one is lifted. So it makes it a lot easier getting the transmission out of it. So for now, I'm not gonna give a certain date on when I'm gonna do it, but it'll probably be at the beginning of summer where I'll probably tackle the first heat wave, which it won't be fun, but I'd rather do it in the summer than in the winter, because trust me, it gets cold. So there's the specs: 5.9 liter V8 Magnum. Well, it doesn't tell you it's the Magnum, but it is. That's what all these trucks are. They came in the 5.2, the 5.9, and some of the half tons came with the 3.9 liter V6. But that's the good thing about these trucks. All of these trucks, their motors are pretty bulletproof. Like, you'd really have to kill them and neglect the motor to actually kill these trucks. The one thing they don't like and it tells you in the owner's manual to not put ethanol in them. So I do run 87 gas, but I usually get it from Quick Trip or places that I know that's got 100% gas. It costs a lot more, but trust me, it makes a world of difference. But other than that, guys, I think that's about it. Pretty much, it's a work in progress, but yeah, I'm looking forward to really showing you guys everything it takes to take this truck apart. It's been a good truck the time I've had it. I got it back in, I want to say 2017, maybe 2016, I can't remember. I had a truck just like this and the frame on it was bent. I rebuilt it, but come to find out I couldn't use it because of the frame. So, scrolling down the Facebook market and I found this truck, and believe it or not, $1,200 bucks. Now, granted, it didn't have the work done to it that I put into it, but it had wiring issues. So I yanked all the wires and stuff out, all the fancy gizmos, put the new harness on there, and that's the other thing I'll show you guys. So this wire harness, as long as you don't mess with this harness, it's really not much to it. It just has three connectors. And you can find these connectors all day long at any salvage yard. And all I did was mount it, drilled some holes around the block right up here, put my zip ties up there on the wall, and it mounts perfectly. So overall, guys, this truck, I tell you, there's nothing like the V8 Magnums. I would actually prefer these over the 5.7 liter Hemis. Now, I don't know about the 6.2 liter Hemi or the 6.4, which I've heard good things about them, but there has been some cases and flaws in the 5.7, which has an oil, and sometimes they tick and sometimes they don't stop ticking, which is a design flaw in the lifters, I believe. But with this motor, you don't ever have to worry about that. Oil, they use 10W30, and usually I go with the castor oil brand, which castor oil, Valvoline, and Mobil 1, those are the main oils I'd stick with. They're good brands, they got a good reputation, and you can't go wrong with those brands. That's probably the best you'll want, trust me. I've had a Mitsubishi's Eclipse, and it had Valvoline in it, changed every 3,000 miles, and that car had over 300,000 miles on it. Now, I know what happened to the car now, but I can't help that. Whoever's the previous owner of it now is, well, he wrecked it, that's all I can tell you. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it. Video. I'll give you one good rev up before I end the video. Let's see. My camera does not want to focus today. Focus there, but it won't focus down here. Oh. Oh, you can smell the gas. Yeah, it hasn't been driven in a while. I'm sure he's probably angry with me. But trust me, he's gonna get a lot of driving this summer. Every weekend. Yeah, it's the old radio too. Nothing too fancy, just a regular Bluetooth radio with CD player. And yeah, I still use CDs. I do need to redo the carpet. Back when they had COVID, they had these masks. My Assassin's Creed mask. But alright guys, that's going to do it for today. So stay tuned. My next video will be changing my 2011 Ford Fusion's oil. So that'll do it for today, and you guys have a good week.